I just wrapped up my 100th day climbing in Hyalite Canyon. And not that that makes me an expert in any way, shape, or form, but I figured for anyone coming to visit Hyalite, I put together a list of my 10 favorite everyman routes. I picked routes that are easy to access-ish, not dangerous or sketchy for ice climbing, and come in consistently, with the exception of one. So without further ado, here they are in no particular order. Hey-yo! Let's go. Number 1, the Scepter. I love this route. It's magical. It's over there by Mummy 2. It's a relatively short approach, and it's long and it's steep, and it's relatively straightforward. Much like most ice climbs, it's much harder early season, as you don't get a break in the middle, but toward the end of the season it starts to get a little hacked out and you get a little rest in the middle, as you can see in this one here. And it is an amazing climb. You can get down with a 70 no problem, and the location and aesthetics of this route just really put it at the top of the list. It is a water ice 5, but I feel like it's pretty straightforward, and with the rest, it's something that anyone can go for. Just run it out a little bit. For number 2, we got the elevator shaft. Now, I do think that this route is on par with and equal to Hangover. So you could go either way on both of those. They're just excellent routes. I picked this one because I really like the location. It's kind of off by itself. It's a really short approach. I'd say you can get there in 30 minutes if there's a trail kicked in. And you have a lot of other climbs on the way, should there be other people in the area. This one is a great one for a moderate ice leader. It's safe, and it's steep in the beginning, makes you feel like a hero, but then it ramps out and is chill vibes. Again, I really like this kind of rock alcove it's in. I've climbed this thing probably 20 times. It's great. Must do. Number 3, we got the good looking one. Now, I didn't actually climb this one for the first couple of seasons because it looked kind of scary. And sometimes the very bottom doesn't come in or melts out or is thin. But after having climbed it a few times recently, it's nothing to be scared of. You can get some rock gear in there if there's no ice, but most of the time there's enough ice for a stubby, so just bring a short ice screw. I like that it's technical down low, kind of like 3-dimensional ice climbing, but once you get past that first bit, you think it's over, but it's not. You got a last little steep section. It's a long climb. I believe you can get down with a 70, but don't quote me on that one. And you'll find that once you hang a top rope on it, people do a little mixed line off to the left. You kind of get some variation in there. I have not climbed the variations on the left or the right, but I have led the middle line 5 or 6 times, and it is good every single time. I must do. And come on, look how aesthetic that thing is. It just looks awesome. Number 4, Horsetail Falls. Now, when you head down that road to the East Fork of Hyalite, when it's open, it closes January 1st. So really, I kind of put all of these routes over here as must do before January 1st. I have skied from the far parking lot, but it's a haul. And unless you just want to suffer extra, do it early season. The approach to this climb sounds scary when you read it on Mountain Project or in the guidebook, but I get there in about 45 minutes. It's beautiful. I really actually enjoy the hike, and you get kind of 2 warm-up pitches before the money. I would say this might be the best route in Hyalite, period, as far as overall quality and accessibility when you kind of combine all the factors, removing like the cutting edge ice climbing aspect from it. It is about as aesthetic and perfect as an ice climb can be. The last pitch is vertical, but very doable, and I don't know, just can't be beat. Climb this route as soon as possible if you haven't done it already. Number 5, Bingo. This route is one of the exceptions to my rule as far as forming consistently. This one doesn't always touch down. In fact, in the last 4 years, it's only bulked up and touched down solidly once, which was this year. But when it does touch down and thickens up, it is a beautiful, safe ice climb that is super duper steep. I would compare this one to another route on this list, which is Killer Pillar. And as with all ice climbs, depending on conditions, it could be harder or easier, but I jumped on this one later in the season when a few people had cruised up before me, so it was a fun, chill outing that was super pumpy. A little side note, with an 80-meter cord, you can lower off the chains at the top and not have to either do a V-thread above the first chunk or tie 2 ropes together from the top anchors. What a gem. And it's got a short approach. Come on now. If you haven't figured this out already, I fucking hate hiking. So you can jam to this thing in 20 minutes, no problem. And there's good warm-ups around it. Number 6. This is out in the East Fork of Hyalite Creek, sort of next to some other classics like Horsetail Prior on this list and Sleight of Hand, which is a quality route but not on this list. Anyway, the Comet is the name of this bad boy. It's a Water Ice 4 Plus, allegedly. I love it because it's multi-pitch and you get some wallowing through snow in a tight kind of couloir-esque thing. It is a good time and sort of feels like a mountain adventure. One of the downsides with a lot of hyalite stuff is it feels like cragging for whatever reason. I come from Colorado, where we're a lot of times climbing in Rocky Mountain National Park and things feel kind of a little bit bigger, mountainous, more mixed, scratchy. And this one somehow gives you a little bit of that feeling, and it's not that hard. And it's a super short approach. I should rename this whole list the Short Approach Classics. Anyway, don't let the grade scare you. It's super fun and a quality outing for sure with a short approach. Shorter than most of the others, I would say. Next up is a Flanders route. Champagne Sherbet, Water Ice 4. Super aesthetic, longer than it looks. Every single time I climb this route, I feel like I'm just gonna romp up there, throw in 2 screws and whatever. But for whatever reason, it sort of goes and goes, which I love. And you get some rests in there, and it's a very quality outing, very easy to find as well. Unlike some of the other routes around, you can see this one basically as soon as you walk into the Flanders area. Very visible, but very popular. So not always my first choice. Often if I'm going back here, I will stop and climb this one if no one's on it, but it is a popular route. To the left of it is a sort of while you're in there kind of thing. It's not a classic on its own, but it can be awesome on the right snow year. Champagne Slot. It's sort of 5-7 mixed 2 or 3, a little sketchy, but really fun. Great to link up with Champagne Sherbet. Next up is another Flanders route. This one breaks my rule of a short hike. It is not a short hike. I mean, I guess if you're like long trudges, it's not epic, but depending on the snow year, it can be some work to get to it. This one is Flanders Field. Super duper cool, very mountain feel. You're kind of way up there. It's thin ice over stone. Not super duper steep, but makes up for it in its kind of mountainy nature. You can see here I get hammered by a little bit of a spin drift. Definitely a fun route to add to the list and not super popular, despite being very, very good. Number 8. This bad boy's in the Winter Dance area, and basically everything around it is awesome. This is over easy. Don't ask me how, but I think this route gets Water Ice 3. It feels hard. for me at that grade, but whatever. It's right next to Curtains, which is an incredible route to link it up with. A little harder than this one, but it's a little bit of a walk over here. So it's a great route to link up with some other ones. This route catches a little bit of sun and is an awesome outing, super long. I like to link this one up with Dialectic, which is another obscure route on this list since you're kind of in the neighborhood, and the last bit of this hike is disturbingly shitty, but maybe I'm a whiner. Number 9 is Dialectic. This is often the first route to come in and a great early season route. I have not walked up there late season, but I would imagine if you've got a good freeze-thaw cycle, it is awesome late season. It does sublimate in the middle of winter as it stops getting water and can kind of like separate from the rock. It's not particularly long, but it's super duper steep and awesome. Again, not super popular, and there's some cool stuff around it. It's sort of tucked in this little nook thing, and a little more on the obscure side for this list, but if it's in good condition, it's safe and awesome and steep, and what else do you want, really? Number 10 is the all-time classic Thrill Is Gone. I really can't say enough about this route. It's got it all. You get some chimneying in there, you're placing some trad gear, you feel like a real climber. It catches sun, which can make it a little wet. It's climbable with no ice in the chimney, and it's climbable with lots of ice in the chimney. It's an awesome outing. You really do it all. And then after doing your chimney stem fest, you get to climb some steep water ice. And I really love this route. I've climbed it, 10 times or something, and it never disappoints. The last little bit can feel pretty pumpy once you've climbed the whole route, but it's worth it for sure. A bonus one to get you out somewhere different is Alpha and Omega out by Palisade Falls. It's a really short approach, and you get 2 good routes 20 feet apart. They're steep, they're not very long, but they're a good time. So add those to your list. You can link them up with Palisade Falls, of course, and then you get a solid day out with 3 very vertical water ice climbs that probably aren't getting gangbanged like G1. The next route is probably my favorite route that I climbed this year, Killer Pillar. Now, I just need to throw this out there about difficulties because it is often overlooked. This route is graded the same as the Scepter or Bingo, but as with all ice climbs, when you climb them in the season is very, very relevant. I climbed this route really early in the season. You can see it's very vertical, it's not super thick yet, and no one had climbed it yet. So I was bashing off icicles and swinging till my arms were maybe the most pumped they've ever been in my entire life. So to me, this thing was like water ice 17. But that being said, when a few people have climbed it, or you climb it in the right conditions, or it's not 4 degrees out like it was the day I did this, it is an awesome outing. And the hike isn't so terrible. I think it took us an hour if you can find the turnoff to get to it. But the last little section to hike to this climb is a little hard to find. You almost walk a little past it and then walk back to it. Killer Pillar, complete fucking gem, must climb. Do it before January 1st, as with everything else over here in Flanders. As a side note, I'd like to point out that ice climbing is really condition catching. What I mean by that is any route can be easy or hard depending on the day you do it. And this is often overlooked by people. They'll say, I climbed this water ice, whatever. That must mean I can climb this grade. But it is completely arbitrary. I have gotten scared and thought I was going to die and been pumped out of my skull on a water ice 3 and free soloed water ice 5 casually without even thinking about it. If 20 people have climbed the route before you, it's going to be fun and safe and secure. You're going to have good footholds and you're gonna have good sticks, and you can basically hook your way up it. If you're the first person and you're getting spin drifted on and there's chandelier bullshit dropping in your face and it's not fully bulked up, it's gonna be hard. So I would let go of the numbers as much as possible, and that pertains to this list more than anything. So don't worry about the grades, just worry about the condition. As Nali Huckadval told me, there is no climbing, there is only condition catching, okay? It is a real thing. And if you can think of it like that, it will help you immensely. When you go to an area like the Canadian Rockies or Alaska or Patagonia, you don't go there to climb a route. You might tell people you're going there to climb a route, or you might even tell yourself that you're going to climb a route. But truthfully, you should go there and climb whatever route is in the best condition. So it's sort of backwards logic. But that has paid a lot of dividends, and that was also told me by Pete Takita, another legend, and he was totally right. It just took me 20 years to figure that out. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed my list. I've had a lot of fun climbing in Hyalite. I hope you do too.